This has to be the craziest thing that we've ever seen out of the mod collection. Do you guys know what this is? It's an Ultima fretboard. When the Ultima was first launched in the late 90s, it had 4 different fretboard options. The Butterfly, Tree of Life, Harp Lady, as well as the Flames. And since then, Gibson has used those fretboard styles throughout the years. Like here's a 2020 Les Paul custom built in the Ice Flame style with a translucent white flame top, as well as that ever so familiar flame fretboard styling. It's primarily mother of pearl, but then you have abalone within it just to make sure that the design doesn't get lost. Even the butterflies have a similar thing going on. However, I have not had one of those in my possession, but I do have one in my collection, a 2014 Ultima, with just crazy wood figuring, wooden pickup rings. This one has what they call the Tree of Life. It's coming out of the vase, and then a matching figured headstock. And then you could also talk about things like the Snake Pit Les Paul, having the snake on it. And then don't forget about the Dragon Les Paul. That one is also magnificent. Now, the reason I went off on that tangent is I don't want somebody to think that the mod collection was like, hey, let's throw this fretboard on here. This had to have been a custom order that failed. I might say, hey, Trogly, how does a custom order fail? It could be that the custom shop decided, hey, this isn't up to our A quality standards, or whoever custom ordered this sent it back. Something that I notice, I mean, you've got some really weird colorations here. I mean, if I'm going to custom order something like this, I would anticipate spending about $15,000, and to have this big of a gap between the fretboard and the neck pickup, I would not be happy there. The finish wasn't applied very well over here either. You can see down to the bare maple, and it really ran up along the binding. And on a guitar of this caliber, I would never accept dings right here by our control cavity. But we have a primarily blue finish here, but if you look closely, it does have a very light purple border to it, and then it's adorned all with black hardware. So we're talking things like the bridge and tailpiece here, and then we've got the black plastics on our knobs, output jack plate, and then the backside is done up in a dark natural. But if we come over here, it's billed as a 59 Les Paul standard reissue. So very interesting choice to outfit it with a Nashville bridge. That's not era correct. Although, to be fair, there is a flamed fretboard. But there's even a little bit of fun up here. We've got black Rover tuners, jet black truss rod cover, but if you look closely, the Les Paul model silkscreen is actually done in a slight blue tint. Nearly looks airbrushed on there, whereas the Gibson logo is your regular pearl. Flipping it to the backside, you get the continuation of your black plastics, and then they re-serialized it as DS number 0281. And down here we can confirm it's an ebony fretboard, so something else that strays from tradition. Then Memphis Historic Spec 2-in-1 pickups. So it's not without its flaws, but I think they priced that appropriately. I mean, that's technically a discount from a regular 59, so I can see why that thing sold quick. I feel bad for all these other ones that have to follow that up because they're going to seem so basic in comparison, but Les Paul Custom Aquatica, it's received what I'll call the anti-widow treatment. Because on a widow, they don't scrape the binding, but on this one they did. So we get this new aquatic blue finish, which works really well with our chrome hardware. They've ditched our pick guard. I can't quite tell if these knobs are reflecting the blue finish or if they have a blue tint to them as well. But then on the full body shot, you can see the headstock is matching, but not just regular matching. That's why I call it anti-widow, because they scrape the binding off, but they still let the inlays be colored, which is fun. It's a black neck as well as the side, but the back matches the front. I'm liking that color combination. Works great with your black backplates. Just need to swap that thing out. But that must have started life as a straight up black custom, because it still has its original serial number dating to 2024. So they just had to spray the top and back and call it a day. But I was pleasantly surprised by this Trini Lopez reissue, and good old Potato Burst, which looks more of a really pale gold burst to me, because we've got that really rich dark tan border that transitions into a lighter gold before you go pale. And then as we continue down, you can see it is a perimeter burst design, and it just gets so pale in the center. There's not a lot of color variation. You get a small little bird's eye right here. And to match that, you get a giant golden Bigsby with the ABR1 and new golden pickups. However, if you were just thinking this was a regular semi-hollow 335 style, no. Everything's different here on the Trini Lopez on the neck. We get a little bit of non-reverse Firebird action going on with our double triangle inlays. But in case you missed it, they upgraded your Gibson logo to one of the old-timey ones. I would love to see them do that in pearl. But then when we flip it over to the back, we can see we get the regular mahogany coloring for the neck and the continuation of everything we've seen on the back. At $5,500 though, that one is certainly pricey, but was crafted in 2024 before its makeover. This is one of the Epiphone USA casinos. Basically, they gave it a new bluish silver finish and blacked everything out, which includes things like our trapeze tailpiece, but then your bridge, dog ear P90 cover, works well with your black F-holes. And then we come on up here to see more more of the same before we get to our rosewood fretboard with your slightly askew parallelogram inlays. But that's a very dark headstock, and does a great job at showing just how pale this rosewood board is. But then the backside has the continuation of our blue, and then from this angle, that looks like an open pore satin finish to me. But next is standard 60s in indigo diffused. I'm not sure about the name, but I think it's beautiful. But now that I've zoomed up on it, you can see there's some other colorations within it, so it might be a multi-chromatic effect where you get other colors coming through. And we'll have to see if that's actually a black edge or not, because sometimes the lighting in the mod collection now can be tricky. But looking at that headstock, yep, I was suspicious. I thought it was just a slightly tinted logo, but nah, that's just completely matching. That's our theme this week. Black plastics on everything. Complete matching neck and body, gloss finish, as we can tell by the reflections right here. And then just for fun, throw the Moto backplates on it. That is a model where that works well. But knowing everything else now, that's gotta be a blue side. In fact, we know it's there. There's a really good close-up of everything in general. Blue and gold, nice. There was a cool blue and gold R7 done up once. That's what that one reminded me of. But now we've got Riverside Red ES355. We actually saw Riverside Red as a stock color back in the late 90s on the Catalina Les Paul series. We documented one here. Gibson was like, yo dog, we heard you liked red 335s. Here's a really, really, really red one. Some might argue too red, but it's very boisterous, and that white binding just stands out. But then again, we get the black plastics, golden parts everywhere else, but an uncovered bridge humbucker with a covered neck. Matching headstock? No. They let that be, but again, there's our theme. And nice, that's actually a big deal having the color everywhere. Typically the mod collection leaves the necks alone on these. What is with our serial number? I know darn well we're not at 800 yet. That has to be a botched 3. We're paying custom shop money. Is it custom shop reissue and you're giving us one of the Gibson USA style cases? That's a pretty heavy downgrade for a guitar like this. $2,800. They called it full-blooded. Similar to Oxblood, but way brighter. Nearly a purplish brown. It matches surprisingly well with that fretboard. Maybe that's why it's looking so good. But then they take your pickups, rip the covers off of them, leaving just your golden pole pieces. But then continuing down, it's not our usual bridge tailpiece setup. Regular bridge, but our tailpiece is one of them trapeze styles, and they just cap off the original studs. Well, it kind of looks like a little smiley face. These are his teeth in his mouth. But whoa, copper metallic back with straight up golden backplates. Maybe not my favorite we've ever seen out of the mod collection, but it's certainly tasteful. I like what they've done here. And then our serial numbers, your regular style, but with our mod collection decal. But we can join our semi-hollows with a 339 in tight taupe. I was trying to figure out what makes this one so strange. At first it's like, okay, it's the P94 pickup right here. It's a P90, but built like a humbucker, so it fits in the same route. Then up here, we just have a regular humbucker, so decently good combination there. But then we get our regular bridge and tailpiece setup. But as you continue down on this already shrunken 335, they decided to put one of these. So this is the decorative part of a vibrola. But as you can see, there's no vibrola here, kind of Derek Truck style. If you like the looks of it, you can leave it there. But if you don't like that, here's the thing. There's going to be at least 4 screw holes down here, and usually 2 underneath that. So if you're not digging this vibe, don't. But if you always like the looks of this, but not the tuning instability, that's the way to go. But now we can zoom out to the full body shot. We got that black headstock. Once again, straight up taupe, back, sides, neck. All the works on that one, but that's not a good finish for those decals. But then again, ask a Fender lover and they might enjoy something like that. It reminds them of home. Our next one is 1957 Les Paul reissue. Does it have a fancy name? Not here, nor there. However, hold the phone. Come down here very slowly and you'll see it. Celestial silver. Let me know what you think on this one. I'm not sure the colors complement each other. Black and silver is always polarizing. However, you gotta remember, when you view this thing in person, you're gonna have so many more colors than just the silver. I can see some pink, green, really zoom in here, maybe some other silvers. There's a whole bunch of colors is what I'm trying to say. But then to match your fretboard, you get your natural sides. And would you look at that? Not a completely black truss rod cover. It's one of the Gibson USA double ply style. Still have the low logo though. And then here we can confirm that natural back everywhere. And it bearing the serial number 295. And now swapping over into the EU mod collection. Ingo, my friendly helper to make sure we don't miss anything. Let me know. All of them are just re-uploads from 2022. But this one is a 60s figure top in Heritage Cherry Sunburst. There was a time in the mod collection when they were throwing these radiator grills, covers on just about everything. They were also utilizing these swirled pickup rings. But you know what I've never noticed before? On these kind of lighter colored ones, you can actually see the M69 branding on them. That's funny, especially them not being historically colored. But as far as the finish, it's nice, but just nothing special. Full body shot is looking like this. Cherry back, but look closely on these back plates. They are slightly transparent and tortoiseshell in color, but wow, that wiring looks kind of crazy in there. Brace yourselves for this one. Unburst. I'm not really sure what they're talking about there. Unburst usually looks something similar to this. Some are a little bit more bursted than others. This one seems extra dark in comparison. But you also have the black plastics, lack of a poker chip, as well as our black hardware on here with the dirty fingers in the bridge. And then another one of them, not radiator style, I'm not sure if this one ever got a name, but they uncovered the slug coil side as well as the adjustable pole piece side. And they blacked out our headstock and left us as a dark cherry back before giving us another one that looks very, very similar, but called iced tea this time. Now, of the three, this is the one that speaks most to me. I love that uncovered zebra bobbin bridge pickup. The creamy plastics work well. We might even have an upgrade to custom shop knobs. But in case you wanted more proof that these are old, here's your sign. It's still marked mod instead of the mod collection decal back here. Because you can't necessarily just go based on the serial, because sometimes things last a long time before they redo them. And I know what you're thinking. You're really excited to see what the USA demo shop cooked up. Nothing. It's just all the old listings yet. But due to their absence, we can check out the European demo shop. It's been a couple of months. It looks like they're having a 20% off sale. There were a few interesting models, but what I wanted to talk about comes up here. It's not the doves in flight. It's what is going on here. If I remember correctly, these were like $1,500 brand new. Now I get it. You got to ship it over to the Netherlands. You get value-added taxes and all that other good stuff. But $2,300 for a non-prototype Epiphone, I'm really not sure where they came up with that price. Now granted, it's discontinued, and I did find out they were $1,300 brand new. But it looks like on Reverb, you can get the Vanity model that has the Joe Bonamassa perloid inlay on the fretboard. Those were $100 more expensive, so $14. Or if you don't mind one that was lightly used, I wonder if this gear tree thing is Joe Bonamassa's website listing them on Reverb, because as far as I was aware, that was the only place you could buy the Vanity edition. That's kind of crazy. Usually, that's the hardest one to find, but there's only one publicly available to USA buyers right now. It's by Music Go Round in Stockton. And yeah, sure enough, that's an example of an Epiphone that's potentially held value okay. But $1,000 higher directly from Gibson? Not so sure about that. But all right, troglodytes, I hope you enjoyed, and we'll catch you tomorrow on the next one. Take care.